Albert Einstein, one of the greatest scientists the world has ever known, said the following: "Learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is to not stop questioning." You've learned about stress and hormones. You've learned about how our brains learn and adapt to our environments. You've learned about short-term and long-term memories and where they're stored. You've learned about the different regions of the brain and how our brains use chemicals and electricity and neurons to communicate. You've also learned how hormones, neurons, neuroplasticity, and brain regions, for example, all work together to experience the world around us, store those experiences as memories, and interact with our environment in the form of unique individual behavior. You also got to know some wonderful researchers and doctors who forever transformed our understanding of the brain. You found out how laureates from the Canadian Medical Hall of Fame, or CMHF, unlocked many mysteries of the brain and made amazing contributions to the scientific and medical community. We hope this has inspired you to explore and unlock many more mysteries around you. Today's session is going to be a little different. Today, we will not talk about the biology of the brain or how it works. Instead, we will talk about 4 amazing CMHF laureates and how they changed the way we treat some of the most serious brain diseases affecting not only Canadians but people everywhere. We begin with spinal cord injuries. The spinal cord works like the main highway through which the brain sends and receives messages to and from different parts of your body. The information exchange makes sure that our organs, muscles, and senses are working properly. A spinal cord injury damages this highway. Our limbs or organs may not function properly depending on the extent of the damage. We might not be able to move our muscles properly, breathe properly, and some functions such as blood flow are also affected. Almost 5,000 people in Canada injure the spinal cords each year. People fall, get into car crashes, sporting accidents, get infections, and disease. While there is no cure for spinal cord injury, 2 CMHF laureates transformed how we understand spinal cord injury and what we could do to make the lives of those suffering from it easier. Their names are Charles Tater and Albert Agallo. Tater transformed how we understand spinal cord injury. He was one of the first people to discover a particular kind of repair mechanism by some patients who had spinal cord injury. Their bodies would actually produce healthy new cells near the site of injury. Tater has spent much of his research career figuring out a way to use these healthy cells to treat spinal cord injuries. In fact, his efforts led to the creation of the first acute spinal cord injury unit in Canada. His work also resulted in the provincial and federal governments to adopt new rules to prevent spinal cord injury in sports, especially hockey. Much like Tater, Agallo also discovered that the nerves in the spinal cord could repair and regrow themselves after injury. In fact, he was the first to show that injury did not immediately lead to permanent damage of the cells. In fact, in some cases, if the damaged areas received the right treatment at the right time, one could repair and restore that damaged area. Agallo's work revived a whole field of medical research, where scientists are trying to develop new treatments and therapies that not only minimize the effects of spinal cord injury, but can also restore and regrow injured areas permanently. The hope is that Tater's and Agallo's work will help people with spinal cord injuries to lead complete and healthy lives once again. Let us now move to strokes and dementia. A stroke happens when blood stops flowing to any part of the brain, damaging brain cells. Dementia is a general term for when a person loses memory, language, problem solving, and other thinking abilities that are serious enough that they need assistance in their daily lives. Both stroke and dementia are caused by common unhealthy life choices such as unhealthy diet and lack of physical exercise, which in turn cause high blood pressure and high cholesterol. In fact, having a stroke doubles your chances of developing dementia. It was a CMHF laureate, Vladimir Hachinsky, who transformed how we understand, treat, and prevent stroke and dementia. With his fellow researchers, Hachinsky established the world's first successful stroke unit in Toronto. His work has helped discover how the brain controls not only blood pressure in general, but blood flow in the brain itself. Based on this research, we now know more about how to prevent many different kinds of dementia and other diseases that specifically affect the brain. Many of the different kinds of strokes that affect the brain are preventable due to the work of people like Hachinsky. For example, he has written a book that educates people on how to recognize the warning signs of stroke and to seek immediate help to reduce the risk of long-term damage. Speaking of blood flow in the brain, our last part deals with brain aneurysms. A brain aneurysm is a bulge or ballooning in a blood vessel in the brain. When blood vessels leak, they bleed inside the brain, and this can lead to a stroke. Aneurysms are dangerous and must be treated quickly. Taking drugs and alcohol, smoking cigarettes, and high blood pressure due to stress and unhealthy eating are all known to increase our chances of having aneurysms. But many aneurysms also happen due to head injuries or blood infections. CMHF laureate Charles Drake advanced our understanding and treatment of brain aneurysms. Over his career, he perfected, documented, and taught surgical techniques on how to repair brain aneurysms. Did you know that Charles Drake was London, Ontario's first brain surgeon? In fact, when he began his surgery career treating brain aneurysms, many doctors thought that it would be an impossible task because treating aneurysms, at least in the 1940s and 1950s, was very difficult. His work led to the invention of different surgical treatments and an instrument called the Drake tourniquet that could treat very dangerous aneurysms delicately and successfully. He was also the first to discover the importance of preserving tiny blood vessels around the aneurysm. Thanks to Drake's surgical techniques, doctors have been able to treat aneurysms successfully and save countless patients from possible death, stroke, and permanent brain damage. While there are other equally serious brain diseases, we have covered 4 today. It is important to understand that while the causes of strokes, aneurysms, and spinal injuries are sometimes outside our control, to a large extent, our behavior can prevent these diseases. For example, we must lead a healthy lifestyle. This means exercising and getting physical activity, eating healthy, avoiding drugs, cigarettes, and alcohol. We must strive to have active social lives and constantly keep learning new things and keep our minds and bodies engaged with interesting activities. We must also pursue physical activities, but be careful and prioritize our health and safety over our need to enjoy life recklessly.